Okay, so, listening to, oh, my phone's gonna fall. I'm like, what's in the frame? Okay, how are we going? The phone charger being in the way. 1 second. Okay, will you stand? Okay, so I was listening to, wow, angles, okay. So I was listening to, what am I sitting on? Oh, a little statue of a deity? Of course I'm in my bed and I'm just sitting on that. It like stabbed me. Anyway, the point is, I've not started getting ready for the day, so, but I was listening to Taylor Swift's song Cassandra because I was about to get ready to go to Target to get items to like record more songs in the future and like write and stuff, but that's not what the energy of this video is really about. It's I was listening to her song, Taylor Swift's song Cassandra, because I just wanted to like play music while I got ready, but then I was thinking about how I don't know if anybody else pictures themselves as Jack Skellington when they're listening to the song Cassandra and she's like, I was in my tower weaving nightmares. That whole section, I kind of just think of, like, I imagine myself as Jack Skellington, but there's also weird layers to that because there were also times when I like watched Nightmare Before Christmas or watched my like memory of Nightmare Before Christmas, and so then I was and I saw it as like, okay, like, is one possible interpretation that Jack Skellington could have been Jack the Ripper, but it's like his afterlife experience of that, and so it kind of adds a lot of really weird context to, like, I wasn't like really combining it with the whole entire rest of the idea because I really picture Jack Skellington when he's in his tower as just this mad scientist guy. Like, yeah, he's already dead and he's in this like crazy realm and stuff, but he's this mad scientist guy who nobody could ever possibly understand, and he's like coming up with all of these experiments and like they don't matter at all because nobody cares, but like even though they don't matter at all, it's like he's coming up with impossible discoveries that break the logic of his own world and break just like everything that should have been universal logic to him. And so that's a really interesting isolated moment when you don't really combine it with anything else and you're like, okay, like, what's just the energy of like this guy who's actually really going crazy because he's by himself, nobody cares at all, and he's like breaking all of the logic of his reality around him. But then I kind of like zoomed out in my mind and I was like, I was kind of like, okay, like the energy of like, what is this Halloween world? Okay, so what does it mean for something to be kind of like when you look at this dimension, the idea of it being like a Halloween world, it's kind of like starved of energy. But the concept of Halloween, yeah, it's like people are like, oh, the veil is thin, but it also means that it's almost like you're starved of something you don't know that you're starved of. So it's like you have this surface representation of like, I have everything that I'm looking for and everything that I need, but behind it, like in the background, you have the fact that this is actually the Halloween world, meaning that it's actually like you're actually sort of starved of things that you don't know that you're starved of. Like if you imagine like a Halloween world right now, not just relevant to that one, but imagine like there's like a fountain, and in this fountain it's not just water, but there's like green, like neon green liquid like pouring out of the fountain, right? It looks like, wow, I'm so infinitely abundant that I have this fountain pouring out this neon green liquid. Like, how could I ever possibly deserve to be so abundant that I got to experience this fountain? But then when it comes to like survival, you find out how starved you really are, because it doesn't mean you're starved of like food, but like it's like, oh, like, well, what can I use this liquid for? Oh, well, anytime you try to transfer this neon green overflowing liquid and actually have practical uses for it, you can't drink it. It's disgusting, or it's unsafe, or you try to go near it, it's radioactive, now you're dying. Like it really it presents more of the idea that you can be starved of things that you don't know that you are starved of, but that can come in many different forms. So it's kind of like, wow, like I'm shocked by how abundant I am. And then it's like, well, it got you there because you thought you were so abundant in this one area of your life, because you actually are missing so many things that you don't know you're missing out of. But then it's like, well, why would you deserve like the concept of healing from whatever you're essentially starved of? Like, oh, maybe being able to like have more uses for this neon glowing liquid in our Halloween fountain, right? Like maybe if we could drink it, that would make it like in a good way, right? That we have it. But like nothing will make it in a good way, because no, it's like still poisoned. Or even if you could change the rules of the world, essentially, then you have these weird moral and ethical concepts coming to your mind. It's like, well, why would I turn this Halloween liquid into something that I can use and something that I can benefit from when I never deserved for it to exist in the first place? And I have to regret the experience of seeing something that was visually so beautiful and made me feel so important, because now I have to wonder why I would have ever deserved that to begin with. If I can't prove that I deserved to see something so beautiful, right? If I can't prove that I deserved to ever initially see something that beautiful, and I just think that I don't even deserve the memory of it, but nothing will take the memory away from it, then I definitely don't deserve to turn this into something useful and an experience that I can benefit from. So, it reminds us of like, it's about Taylor Swift's like downfall in the public eye in the song Cassandra. So that's why it's interesting that I sort of have this like wormhole into both, essentially, but like from essentially Taylor Swift's downfall all the way to Jack the Ripper. And is there more like almost provable evidence that even if the creators didn't even know or think of it that way, that the energy of Jack the Ripper was channeled into The Nightmare Before Christmas, whether that was the plan or not? Because you can also imagine, like, okay, essentially if you think of an entity or a creature such as Jack the Ripper, this is somebody who, like it or not, had some level of success in being remembered, but also somebody who has so much karma that whatever they choose can never be like in a good way. If you think about like a serial killer, right? Or somebody who commits so many horrendous acts, they have so much energy because they've been perceived so much. And all of that energy is about the story. And every time people go back and look at the story and try to figure things out, they're receiving energy. So when they receive energy, every time they like receive energy, they have to use it for something. But then if that person is dead or, you know, moves on somewhere else, it's like they go to the world that they deserve, essentially. But because they go to the world that they deserve, it has to be both as amazing as you are, which means how much have you been perceived, how much energy have you been given. Now you're turning parts of yourself into something more amazing based on your own perception of what that would be. Because they're given energy, you can't say there's nothing like amazing that they would have turned themselves into in between that time. Yeah. Which also means that you guys are crazy for giving like random killers that much energy when they're on the news and they get like 1 million views or like 100,000 views, 100,000 likes. Like you don't know what they're like in between worlds, like if they're already dead or not. Like you don't know what they're turning themselves into. That would have been energy that like somebody else deserved. But in this world, people are given energy for anything that gives them attention, not anything that like could have been like deserved, right? If you think from like a moral standpoint, it's like, wow, like I'm sure somebody else would have deserved that attention who never would have wanted it. But then it's like, no, like somebody who's like a killer who didn't even do anything like interesting, if you want to go that route and be like, well, at least they like expanded our minds or something. Like some of them really just did like the most boring, terrible stuff. And now they're given attention by like the world to where they could like, not that any of it's good, but I'm saying like at least if they like taught you something you didn't know about, theoretically, like you could be like, okay, I understand why they would have some creative energy given to them or something. But that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is, could Jack Skellington be Jack the Ripper? Well, we have to understand some of like the return of energy. So yeah, he's born into this essentially, like, we're not really born because we don't have like an origin story in his new afterlife world, right? That's kind of what I would picture it as, just for like the sake of, is it possible that Jack Skellington could be Jack the Ripper? And I'm not even using the fact they both have the first name Jack as like, you know, but I'm sure the names having even more in common could, you know, mean something. So if he got a return of the exact energy he created and also didn't have anything given to him like for free, you have to also understand like because of where he came from, it wasn't like this world where we have iPhones, right? So if that energy of having had that experience ever couldn't be taken from a soul, but also couldn't be given to them if they didn't earn it in some way, that it's like it creates a weird like thing where yeah, nobody has that. But also I don't know when Nightmare Before Christmas was made, but like it's kind of, maybe people would have seen it as like ruining the world if people had that technology, but you also have to be aware that like people don't have technology. People would have to not be able to have technology that would have been given to his soul for free. It's just interesting. I don't know. I just find it interesting, but yeah, so like the idea of this world that's like starved, but then like him getting like the return of energy of people finding out something new and new ways of thinking about things, and it's this Christmas world, but then it's like being in the position of the scientist breaking the logic of the world because something like this isn't supposed to be able to happen. So it kind of does mirror that story. Anyway, not that I'm trying to give my energy in that way, but I'm like, it's super interesting how all of these things feel connected, even though there's like no reason for it to all feel connected, but like it reminds me of that. So I thought I would make a YouTube video, and it's good for me to have like creative energy talking about this, even if it's at the cost of the other entities involved receiving a tiny amount of energy, because they're also already like, even if it would be like true, I'm not giving something to you that I don't already have, but like the point is it's still an interesting concept. I don't know. It's just weird. Anyway. I guess I'm just gonna get ready to go to Target then and get my stuff I wanted. I love you guys. Bye.